To serve great food is to create memories for your customers.
But it takes more than luck.
It takes consistency, creativity, and the drive to see things through.
And every day, the stakes are high, which means it's time to stand up
from your computer and start getting real. To own your kitchen is to own your bottom line.
This is the real world. And now...
This is the real world. And now...
This is the real world.
And now is the time to foodify your business. Welcome back to F Your Business Podcast. I'm Scott. I have Chef Chris here. Today we're doing something simple. Some fresh salsa.
There you go. Well, simple when you stand there and watch me do all the work, right?
You were cutting it so nicely. I didn't want to take any chance of ruining it, so right. I was just observing.
All right. Well, it wasn't that hard, actually. But anyway, so, yeah, we're going to do fresh salsa again, right? Well, not again, but we're going to do fresh salsa. And we're going to put it up against the prepackaged, and we're going to see how we turn out. I think this is going to be better, cheaper, and it's going to keep your customers coming back for more.
Yeah. We're starting right here in the kitchen because again, these ingredients are going to be ones that you probably have in your kitchen, or if you watched our guacamole podcast, you brought these items in, and now you can use them for your salsa. So obviously, there's going to be a ton of different applications you can use. It's not just for chips and salsa. You can put on chicken, put on a salad. It goes on burgers, everything.
Any protein you put this on.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to elevate it. It's a great item. So we got a little history on this. Where does this come from? I could go out on a limb again. I was right with guacamole.
You were right on guacamole.
Yes. I think I'm going to be right again today.
Yeah, I think you're going to hit this one.
All right. I'm going to say Central America.
Yeah, so similar. You got it.
Guess, taking a shot. Yeah. I did pay attention in school, so maybe I got it right.
Yeah, maybe just guess right. But yeah, so similar to the guacamole, the Aztecs and Mayans, have been doing this forever, using the tomatoes, squash seeds, peppers, chilies.
Over time, they elevated, right? They had this, they had that. Whichever local, I'm sure was ever local to where they lived.
Correct.
And they were like we tell everyone to do with their menu. Be local to where you live. Let's use local items. So they did the same thing with salsa. Every region you go to is a little bit different.
Yeah, exactly. And it really didn't get to the rest of the world until, again, like guacamole, the Spaniards come in, take over Mexico in the 1500s. By 1571, Alonso de Molino, he named it salsa and got it
1571.
1571. Wow. Salsa name was created.
Salsa's been around a long time.
Been around... About as long as you, Chris, or no? Even a little bit longer than you.
It's got me beat by a little bit.
All right.
Just a little.
Yeah, so again, but now, like Chris said, it's evolved. It's not just part of, a Mexican or a Spanish cuisine at this point. Different ways to do it. You see it on Mediterranean salsa. They added some balsamic to it. There's so many different
ways to do it. People love it, Of course, it was invented there, but now other cultures are taking it on, and they're adding their local twist to it, which is great. So the big question, I'm going to ask you every week. Was this meant to be salsa, or were they trying to create something else and it was an accident and it was just so good it became salsa?
Yeah, I think this one meant to be. Like you said, they were using the ingredients they had, local, fresh, tomatoes and chilies, and making it into that first kind of salsa. So no, I would say...
So this was their idea.
I would say this was the idea of then, not putting a name on it, just creating something that they had.
Right.
Probably similar to what you're doing right now, just really fresh ingredients. Even now from a health perspective, a lot of healthy ingredients, a lot of fresh. We're not adding a lot of...
No, it's all fresh local ingredients. That's it. It's what you do with it. Like, I love a nice piece of sauteed or grilled chicken, and you put the salsa right over top.
Yeah,
wow, that's amazing, right? But this is a very, I would say, basic, common one.
Right.
Right? This is like the traditional. So, we're going to get started. You see how easy this is. So we start with the tomatoes here, Scott.
Yeah, so Chris already did the prep work, but we got 8 diced tomatoes, 8 ripe tomatoes, all diced.
And use whatever tomatoes you want. You could use the Roma. You could use whatever, especially this time of year, if you want to go with the heirloom or whatever you want to go with. This, you could use because tomatoes tomato.
Right.
All right, you got some red onion.
Yeah, about a half red onion. I would say medium size to get the amount you want on this onion.
Right, you don't want to overpower it with onion. Just want to give it a little flavor. All right, got the jalapenos.
Yeah, so we used 1 jalapeno. If it's larger, if it's smaller, you go with 2. Again, like we talked about with making guacamole, for this sake, it was 1 large jalapeno. When we cut it in half, we seeded half of it
right.
to get it out, so it's not too super hot.
Well, we want a little kick in there. I mean, you gotta have a little kick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So we left half of it with the seeds. Got the cilantro.
Yeah, so 1 cup of cilantro.
Got some fresh garlic chopped.
Yeah, it's about 4 cloves of garlic chopped up.
So who doesn't love fresh garlic? Especially when it sits in this little olive oil. Right, it's gonna be great. Got the lime juice.
Yep. So that's about 2 fresh squeezed limes in there. And again, even something like that, it's simple. You know, you're buying that prepackaged lime juice. You're not gonna get a flavor as those fresh ones, and it didn't really take much time. And about a half a cup of oil to finish
It's
it off.
olive oil, right? We went extra virgin. You want to go with something good here. You don't want to use a canola or some cooking oil. You want it to be an extra virgin olive oil because that's where a lot of flavors coming from. You want to go. Tomatoes love salt. You want to go with a good teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half. You can always check it because tomatoes are different. Don't add it all at once. Add a teaspoon, see if you need more. Get some crushed black pepper in there. There we go. So, we're going to give it a nice mix. It's very simple, man. How hard is this?
Yeah, I mean, really, once we were kidding around about earlier in the prep work, it really didn't take Chris much time to get all this prepped up. And I mean, again, a serving size of this, I mean, it's a pretty good sized portion of salsa. I mean, it's going to give you, depending on what you're doing, yeah, if you're serving as an appetizer or like on a bruschetta, it's going to take more, but from your normal portion size to add to one of your other items, you're only going to add 2 to maybe 4 ounces of salsa for each.
Right, and this should be made earlier in the day. The longer it hangs out in the fridge, all the flavors come together. You get a really good flavor. If you were in a pinch and you made it late in the day, give it at least 15 minutes in the fridge. You don't want to go right from prep to the table.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, it's just something you do want to prep ahead of time. And if you prep a batch like this, you might be doing that 3-4 times a day, making money on it. It's a great offset your food cost.
Yeah, it's going to be
very low. Yeah, it's going to be very low. Especially you put it out as an appetizer, then you start using it on top of some of your proteins. It's really going to go a long way.
Yeah, and I think as we're seeing a lot of as the protein and the burger and meat prices continue to rise, you can charge more for a burger that has the fresh salsa on it or different things, and that's going to offset that you might not want a $22 burger on your menu. But when you get it, that 16, 17 range is not that crazy right now, depending on where you are. This really helps you get to that.
That helps. It elevates the burger. It elevates the chicken sandwich. It elevates anything that you do because it's a fresh item, and people can tell when it comes out to them to eat. They know that you prepared this in-house, and it's not something you could just get anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. So what we're going to do, we're going to put it in the refrigerator because we're going to have our taste test. Our salsa versus, like I said, just out of the prepackaged salsa.
Right.
So let's give it a nice chill for a little while, and then we'll have our taste test and get back with the results.
See you in a little bit after we win.
All right, so results are in. Scott, what's the result for this week's salsa challenge?
I think we pitched another shutout, right, Chris? I think you.
Arms getting tired.
Yeah. It was a 13-0.
13-0.
For fresh salsa versus the prepared. So congrats, Chris. Great job. Your salsa was delicious.
It was amazing. Yeah, and I think the team, some of the feedback was really more about the visual difference, right? When you walked in, you knew which one was the fresh right away.
Yeah, well, it just pops. Fresh, you're using fresh items. It makes all the difference in the world. The cilantro's, so bright and green with the red tomato. The little pieces of garlic come through. Every color just comes through, and it makes you want to eat it.
Yeah, and I think, the other thing our team really talked about is, you don't have to have, Tex-Mex or, be a Mexican restaurant or, everyone can appreciate fresh salsa.
I agree. And again, it's salsa. Put your spin on it. Put what you like. If you want to put a little twist on it to make it fit your restaurant, do it. I don't think it's necessary, but it couldn't hurt. It's fun to play with. Why not? And it's a great item. You can use across the board on almost anything. It's a great add-on. You grill a piece of chicken breast. You add salsa. You charge like $5 for a tablespoon of salsa over the top. Yeah. Give it a great name. Name it after your restaurant. Try something like that. Make it an LTO. There's so many different options for it. Kind of like the guacamole that we did last week. right? It's just so versatile that you can put it on burgers, put it over chicken and quesadillas. You name it, you could use it in it.
Yeah, you could definitely make it an appetizer with the guacamole. So now you have a fresh guacamole, you have your fresh salsa. It can be a great appetizer. Well, like I said, it can be with a quesadilla, a 2-ounce side. It can go with chicken, and like you said, the add-on price. I mean, it's phenomenal because that's what we found out when you make it. The per ounce price. I mean, I think it came to be like 5 cents an ounce.
Right.
You know, and even the pre-made stuff might have been like 18 cents. So it's not that the pre-made stuff was expensive, but when you're giving a product away for free, I mean, we love to cost to be almost free.
Right.
And 5 cents for an ounce of salsa, even if you go a
Pretty
4-ounce portion or 8-ounce portion, you're not really pushing the needle on the cost
Even
side.
not give it away, right? Just sell it at happy hour, $5, get a bowl with chips.
Yeah.
Right.
You get that's almost all profit. You know,
Yeah.
you're talking about a profit margin like 90% profit there. Your 10% cost maybe.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that, you know, everyone's customer base is going to be different. Everyone's, you know, bar crowd is going to be different.
Right.
And it is kind of a fine line, right? I think where traditionally we've kind of gone away from the chips and salsa on the menu really was the idea that we were driving up check average, right? Like if I get rid of chips and salsa and I replace it with nachos or, you know, egg rolls or something else, I've gotten people to spend, you know, $5 or $6 more.
Right.
But I think, especially now, you know, although I really think economy's okay, you know, this may be a good time to kind of reintroduce it, because I think what we miss in that whole debate, right? Yes, I got $5 more, so I got someone to order a nacho. What you miss there is people who then don't order any appetizer.
Right.
And also, it could really drive your bar sales, right? Because if you're going to have a whole bowl of chips and salsa, now maybe I'm going to order that extra drink, which also has good margin.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it's a great add-on to a happy hour menu that allows you to, I mean, if you add the awesome guacamole that Chris made, the awesome fresh salsa, I mean, you could have it as a very nice appetizer that could be easily $10 or $12. Right. But the nice part from a cost side is you could sell it for happy hour for $5 and still be very happy from a food cost.
So profitable.
Very profitable.
Right.
That it gives you some kind of, you know, wiggle room when it comes to that. I mean, I've seen some restaurants even just, again, not, you know, Mexican restaurants, serving it with a wrap or with a sandwich as a side instead of fries.
Right.
I mean, and if you look, even as cheap as a French fry is, really, you add just a few chips, some fresh made salsa, it's actually even cheaper. So, I mean, they're
Better
benefiting
margins.
that. And from a customer standpoint, you might want that, as people maybe don't want as much fried food or something like that.
Right.
They don't feel as bad eating some corn chips or something. So,
Right, and that's a good idea too, to say maybe it is like a limited, it's only on my bar menu, I have a separate bar menu. I know Chris is a big advocate of that, of it's okay to have a bar menu and then a restaurant menu.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think if you don't, you should, right?
Yeah.
It definitely works better. People that sit at the bar normally are looking for certain type of food. People that sit in your dining room, well, they're looking for dinners and entrees and going down that road. So having that just on the bar menu, I think would really add to your profit margins.
Yeah, and Scott brought up during our taste test the chili story.
right. I mean, you look at some of the restaurants, and I think just be careful when you're adding those LTOs, because you want to. It is that fine line, like Ann said, on you know, the cost perspective. You know, look at a Chili's that I think still serves like $1.50 chips and salsa, because they added it so many years ago and really can't remove it. I mean, not a great place to be either. You're kind of handcuffed now that, you know, from their standpoint, you add another appetizer you're trying to push, and you almost can't get away from the $1.50 chips and salsa.
I think the moral of the story is don't sell for $1.50.
Right.
Go at least $5.
Right.
And, you know, listen, every year raise it 50 cents.
Yeah.
Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think, you know, again, it's always something that you can, you know, make your customers curious about, you know, having them taste it. And really letting them know that it is a great item on the menu, but maybe there are some parameters to where it doesn't fully take away from every appetizer on your menu. But I think, you know, even in the Chili's example, I think there probably were an element of customers that went to Chili's who probably wouldn't have gone if they hadn't had the chips and salsa.
Right. I agree. They were doing it to build top line sales. Right. And we tell a lot of our clients that, I mean, I think you got to look at your day part, and you got to look at what your specific restaurant is doing, because one LTO or one addition to the menu doesn't work for everyone. But if your happy hour is not that busy, well, then try something different. So what? You know, you try it for a month and it works or doesn't work. But if you can sell some more drinks or a late night happy hour, maybe it's your last hour, and maybe that's where the chips and salsa come in. It's an easy thing at the end of the night that maybe the line is not open at full capacity, but we could easily serve chip salsa, guacamole, maybe some queso, maybe something like that. So I think it just allows you to go in different directions. And again, we want top line sales. For the bar, we want beer sales. We want, we want people like Chris coming in, drinking a bunch of beers, having some chips to keep them drinking a couple more beers.
Someone's got to keep me there.
Right.
Well, and I think it also gets you to, not be afraid of the chip sauce. Because I do think, as a restaurant, people are afraid of it, right? Because it's so much cheaper. It doesn't have that value. But I think if you think about, pretty much every Mexican restaurant, even the higher end, they give it away for free.
Right.
And they still drive incredible margins, but they drive it through margaritas, right? Really good drink menus.
Yeah.
And an upsell of, like we talked about the guacamole. There's no reason you couldn't have both, right? Try our fresh salsa. Now you've gotten me kind of thinking about getting an appetizer where maybe I wouldn't before. Oh, it's only $5. That's great. Well, now all of a sudden, now you can have your upsell of, but you could get your tableside guacamole. Right. And now I'm back to my $13 appetizer. We're there.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Listen, this is another option, another fresh item that it's going to look great on your menu. No one will be disappointed. Right. And a lot of people are going to come in and be excited about the opportunity to try it.
Yeah, and everybody's going to have it, right? From kids to adults. It goes to everywhere across your menu. Again, just another item, and I think when you bring the quality out like that salsa, we saw the difference than just out of a jar or out of a container. Right. It's a lot added value. Yes, the price wise, but just look at it. It just looks like a fresh product. It looks awesome, and I think that's a big part of it.
I agree, and I think two of the under marketed to segments of our customer base are really, like you said, kids, right? And I think this is a great way. Kids drive restaurant choices, right? I hate to say it, but I know, mom of two, I'm sure Scott, Chris can attest. They pick, right? I might want to go here, but they're going to have their say, and they're probably going to win because they're loud and and the squeaky wheel. They know how to get their way more than we like to admit. And I think the other segment that really could appeal to this is, kind of that fixed income customer, right? That person who wants to go out to eat, who wants to get dressed out. I mean, I'm always kind of aware, I think, just because if I'm doing taxes, right? I know that customer base very well. They want to get dressed up. They want to go out on a Friday, Saturday night. They may have had to cut back in the last 2 or 3 years with inflation. And this is a great way to get them to come in, sit at the bar, enjoy the bar menu, because they might not have otherwise come. So you're really competing against that zero, right? So if you're offering something that's a little more affordable, they probably weren't going to come into the door where you currently are. So I think there is that element where we kind of have to meet people in the middle, especially that element of the customer where maybe they come an extra day a week where they weren't going to come otherwise.
It's a perfect item to accomplish that.
Yeah.
And they're nice items to have because when you see that, when chicken prices shoot up or when beef prices shoot up, you're not going to see the impact as much on some of these items. Yes, tomatoes or avocados could go up, but it's not going to be the same level of a protein and egg jump. So you're kind of protecting your overall food cost by having some more items like this that in general don't go up or down a ton.
Right. It's always going to have a great margin.
Right.
Which is the other thing of thinking about, when we're thinking about our loyalty programs, how do we thank our customers that do come back? I mean, this could be something where you offer, after 5 visits, you get a free chips and salsa.
Right. No, absolutely. It's not going to hurt your margins.
No.
Right?
Because again, the guy down the road's giving it away for free every time.
Right.
So
we're giving it away, not hurting your margins, but if we sell it, it helps your margins.
Yeah.
Again, we always talk about need a couple items to offset the ones that are a little more expensive, a little above our food cost, what we want, but we need to have them long as it drives people through the door. This has helped offset that. Now it's bringing that item that's 33, 34%. It's helping bring that down to 30 or less.
Exactly.
That's so important. Offsetting it and having that average of your food cost where you want it.
Yeah.
Especially from like an appetizer menu standpoint, because as we're adding more of the ahi tunas to the appetizer menu and the cheesesteak egg rolls and all these other things.
Chicken wings.
The chicken wings, right? Yeah. That, we would love to sell you the appetizers are going to be such a great margin, but some of them are not going to be great margins.
No.
So I think when you add these into it, at least if you look at it as a category, your appetizers in general
Gives you
can
a
still be
chance.
where you want to be.
Right. Gives you a chance to get there. But yeah, you're right though. The appetizers used to be all great margins. Definitely has changed.
Yeah.
Recently.
No, exactly. So maybe next football season we have green chips for the Eagles instead
There
of
you
chicken
go.
wings.
We're in.
There you go. We're done with it. Make some green salsa maybe too.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us in this week's episode. It was a great one.
What is Foodify? Our Foodify method stands behind 5 core fundamentals. Products. Sourcing quality products, fresh when possible, that have the margins that work for your bottom line. Service. Setting non-negotiables for your service that creates a memorable guest experience that is repeatable and scalable. Quality control. Ensuring staff is trained on all elements of quality control, including food safety, consistency, and ensuring everyone is using the 5 senses to monitoring food quality. Leadership. Creating a management team with the skill set needed in today's hospitality world. Accountability. Weekly assessments of your operations focused on bottom line results. And together, we can customize to the individual needs. This Foodify method adds both quality and profitability to everyone's bottom line.